The Government Accountability Office has issued a new report. This came out at the end of August, and the topic, the impact of the Trump administration's actions in 2017 and how they impact 2018 open enrollment. They wanted, and this came at a request of congressional Democrats, they wanted the Government Accountability Office to compare 2017 to 2018, looking specifically at reduced navigator funding, reduced advertising, and lack of enrollment targets in open enrollment. How did that impact enrollment overall, and what can we learn for 2018? The Government Accountability Office was quite critical. The theory behind this request was, well, the Trump administration's actions have been expected to impact enrollment. The open enrollment period was cut short. Huge cuts to advertising, huge cuts to navigators, and repeal attempt, lawsuit, repeal attempt, lawsuit, executive order, guidance, a lot of impact to how the Affordable Care Act was being implemented and how people could connect to insurance. What actually happened? There was a really small change in how many people actually didn't find their way to the marketplace. So even considering all of the attempts on open enrollment, there were 9.2 million people that had enrollment in the prior year for 2017 coverage. There were 8.7 million people that had coverage in 2018 when they signed up for health plans. That's a 5% decrease. It could have been huge. So the Government Accountability Office was actually saying, considering all that happened in 2017, we actually did okay with coverage. Why? Mostly because of tax subsidies. As premiums kept going up, more tax subsidies were able to help keep coverage affordable. But we could have lost so many more people, and we could have gained so many more people if we would have had better outreach, if we would have had better navigator funding, and if we could have taken advantage of all of the progress we had made up to this point. Now, remember, cost sharing reduction payments were cut. To make up the money, insurers raised premiums on silver plans. Subsidies, therefore, increased. The non-subsidy eligible people had huge premiums and they dropped coverage. So we lost some of those higher subsidy or higher premium people because they didn't have those higher subsidies to go along with it. Enrollment could have been better, and the Government Accountability Office report pointed to consumer confusion over anything. Multiple conversations about is the ACA repealed turned people away from enrollment. Limited advertising turned people away from enrollment. Government Accountability Office said TV advertising was one of the most effective forms of paid advertising, and HHS cut that out altogether. So they purposely avoided that outreach technique, and the report says that made a difference. Navigator cuts made a difference. The feds pointed to metrics. They said these navigators didn't meet their goals, therefore we cut their funding. The report validates the work that navigators actually did. Navigators had to meet metrics on in-person assistance and outreach and education effort. They were told you have to perform in those two categories. But when the feds reviewed to see if they met their goal, they only looked at enrollment numbers only. They didn't look at the metrics that were required. The GAO faulted HHS for this and for not setting enrollment targets in 2018. They said a lack of a numerical enrollment target and failure to evaluate key aspects of consumer experience hampered their ability to assess the performance and make key decisions about how to use resources. So they didn't just be critical, they gave some recommendations. The GAO report said HHS can take steps to better manage its performance, and here are the recommendations. Ensure data for deciding navigator awards is accurate, provide clear guidance on performance goals, and if you issue that guidance, then you have to follow it if you use that in making funding decisions. It then said HHS should establish numerical enrollment targets. You gotta set a goal and you gotta work to it. That's just basic business. And then they said HHS should evaluate other aspects of the consumer experience beyond what was cited for 2018. And HHS replied, and they're like, yeah, we agree with 1 and 3. We could probably do a little bit better on our performance, but they said we are not setting numerical enrollment targets. They refused. They said we don't believe that enrollment targets are even relevant. You can read up on that GAO report. You can also read some blog posts that talk about the policy and this friction back and forth between the GAO and the HHS. And you can read all those links. You can also send us an email or your question at healthwatchwisconsin.org.